Mark 11 marks the beginning of Jesus' final week leading up to the crucifixion, commonly known as the Passion Week. This chapter includes his triumphal entry into Jerusalem, the cleansing of the temple, and important symbolic acts like cursing the fig tree. Jesus also directly confronts the religious leaders, setting the stage for the escalating conflict. In verses 1 through 11, Jesus has his triumphant entrance into Jerusalem. Jesus sends 2 disciples to get a colt tied in a village, fulfilling the prophecy of Zechariah 9:9. The colt is brought, and Jesus rides into Jerusalem while the crowd shouts, "Hosanna! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." This is a public declaration of his messianic identity. He enters the temple, looks around, and leaves for Bethany with the 12. Jesus' entry in Jerusalem is also told in Matthew chapter 21, Luke chapter 19, and John chapter 12. The key message is that Jesus is the promised king, but not the kind of political Messiah many expected. In verses 12 through 14 and 20 through 21, we have the story of the fig tree. The next day, Jesus is hungry and sees a fig tree with leaves but no fruit. He curses it, "May no one ever eat fruit from you again." The disciples hear him say it. Later, they see the tree withered from the roots. Jesus uses it as a symbol of spiritual fruitlessness, especially of Israel's religious system. The fig tree story is also in Matthew chapter 21. The key message is that outward appearance without inward fruitfulness leads to judgment. In verses 15 through 19, Jesus enters the temple courts and drives out those buying and selling. He overturns tables of the money changers and the seats of those selling doves. He says, "Is it not written, 'My house will be called a house of prayer for all nations'? But you have made it a den of robbers." The chief priests and scribes begin to look for a way to kill him. The clearing of the temple story is also in Matthew chapter 21. The key message is that Jesus confronts corruption and restores the temple's intended purpose as a place of prayer and worship. In verses 22 through 25, after the disciples see the withered fig tree, Jesus teaches, "Have faith in God. If anyone says to this mountain, 'Go, throw yourself into the sea,' and does not doubt, it will be done." He teaches about faith, prayer, and forgiveness, saying, "When you stand praying, if you hold anything against anyone, forgive them." The key message is that faith empowers prayer, but forgiveness is essential to effective spiritual life. In verses 27 through 33, Jesus' authority is questioned. Back in Jerusalem, the religious leaders confront Jesus. "By what authority are you doing these things?" Jesus answers with a question about John the Baptist's authority. Was it from heaven or from men? The leaders avoid answering because they fear the people. So Jesus refuses to answer their question. This is also in Matthew chapter 21. The key message is that Jesus' authority is divine, but the religious leaders refuse to acknowledge it due to pride and fear. There are 4 key themes in Mark chapter 11. 1. Jesus as king. The triumphal entry reveals him as the humble but authoritative Messiah. 2. Judgment on hypocrisy. The fig tree and temple cleansing symbolize judgment on empty religion. 3. Faith and prayer. Genuine faith results in bold, effective prayer, but requires a forgiving heart. 4. Challenge to human authority. Jesus exposes the fear and control of the religious leaders. Mark 11 describes Jesus' triumphal entry into Jerusalem, where crowds welcome him as the promised king. Jesus then curses a fig tree for its fruitlessness, symbolizing Israel's spiritual condition, and cleanses the temple, condemning corruption and restoring its purpose as a house of prayer. The chapter emphasizes faith, prayer, forgiveness, and Jesus' authority, which is questioned by the religious leaders as tensions rise toward the crucifixion. Mark 11 should challenge us all to look deep into our own hearts and examine our discipleship. Are there any areas in my life where there is leafy appearance but no spiritual fruit? Are my worship and service rooted in reverence for God or empty routine? Am I holding on to unforgiveness that may be hindering my spiritual life?